Welcome to Save As Ability, a podcast to educate and inform you about disability employment issues. My name is David D'Arcangelo, and I'm your disability policy expert.
Hey everybody, welcome back for another episode of Save As Ability. It's David D'Arcangelo. Another episode. Today we're talking about the deadline that was delayed, but access is not delayed. What we're talking about is the Department of Justice issued an extension for the compliance of that cities and towns and state and local governments need to be in compliant with web accessibility. So that's what we're talking about. Web accessibility, DOJ compliance. That's our topic here today on Save As Ability. And if you like our content, if you can help us by sharing, subscribing, liking, all of that, really does help us keep great content flowing for you. So we're getting right into it. And so what are we talking about? Well, the Department of Justice had issued guidelines that were going to go into effect that cities and towns and local state governments under Title II of the ADA were going to have to abide by. But then it got pushed out. So that's, essentially the 50,000-foot view. So let's start at the beginning here. All right. So the Americans with Disabilities Act, or the ADA, Title II specifically of that, pertains to what the obligations and responsibilities of state and local governments are for accessibility, okay? So we often think of that in terms of physical access, so ramps, automatic door openers, assistive listening devices. Yeah, okay, that's all part of it. But in this age of electronics and, how much information we consume, it's also that. It's also all of the electronic information that is getting generated by these cities and towns. So what are we talking about? We're talking about document accessibility. We're talking about website accessibility. So the things that are being produced by the city or town and the public's ability to interact with that information, consume that information, well, it must be accessible for people with disabilities. So that's what we're talking about here. ADA Title II, Web and Mobile Accessibility Rule was put down by the Department of Justice, all right? And so compliance is coming because over the years, what had happened was there really wasn't any enforcement here. And the DOJ is now saying, well, wait a minute, this isn't right. This isn't fair. We've got to make sure that we're providing good access for people with disabilities to be able to consume the information from their local governments, okay? So even though the legal deadline moved, the need for equal digital access has not, which is good. So we want to connect web accessibility here to civic trust, public participation, and really practical government service delivery, because so much of government on the local and state level now is delivered. They're steering you to a website to find out about the program, or they're the way you access the form or the way you pay a bill, that's all gone online, and that must be accessible now. So this is a good thing. So the federal government has given state and local governments more time to comply with the web and mobile app accessibility rule. All right. So yeah, there was a little bit of delay in the compliance or whatever, but there isn't delay in the access, which is good news. All right. So really what we're talking about is people with disabilities have, the absolute right, and cities and towns have the obligation to ensure that their programs and services are available for people with disabilities. That includes government websites, apps, voting, paying taxes, applying for benefits. I have a whole laundry list of things here. Accessing public meetings, communicating, all of that stuff. All right. And so this final rule was set to be in place April 20th, 2026, but then it got pushed back. So the rule extends the compliance dates for the ADA Title II Web Mobile App Accessibility Rule. Originally, it was, again, April 24th, 26th. Now it is April 26th, 2027. Now that applies to state and local governments with populations of 50,000 people or more. And then for public entities under 50,000 people or any special districts, it has been extended to April 26th of 2028. All right. So there's two different deadlines there. If it's 50,000 or more, it's 27. If it's 50,000 or less or other public entities, it's 28. All right. So let's talk a little bit about that. So even though the clock moved, the standard didn't. So what's the core standards? What we're talking about here is the underlying rule that was promulgated and is now going to be enforced by the Department of Justice is WCAG 2.1. What is that? Well, WCAG is the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines. And level AA access is really what we're talking about. So this makes sure that, screen readers can read the website, that if there's videos, they're closed captioned, if there's alt text, that it's described properly, all of the information can be accessed for all of the various use case scenarios of people with disabilities. So what does it tend to be? Well, it tends to be blind and low vision, deaf, okay, but it's other disabilities as well. And it's making sure that all of this information is available and accessible for people with disabilities, okay? So even though WCAG uses the word guidelines, this rule really treats WCAG as like the required standard going forward for public entities, all right? And so this isn't just a technology issue. This is a public service issue. This is like, communication of what your government is doing for you and how you get to interact with your government here. So this is a very important and necessary thing. And it's a really good thing, not only for people with disabilities, but for all citizens and taxpayers and people who want more out of their government. This modernization and these standards are really good. Okay. They're good for everybody, not only the people with disabilities, but the entire population, people without disabilities as well. So this extended compliance dates doesn't make the obligations any less. All right. So that's a good. So it's not a delay in permission or to ignore access. They're just adjusting the dates because there was this outcry of, wait a minute, we're not going to be able to meet these deadlines. Okay. So like one of the things that I'm pointing to our logo, Archangel Communications, we're starting now to get calls and work with these local governments on, hey, what can we do to be compliant? Because there's really two aspects of it. One is the communication piece, but the other is then the technical piece to be able to go in and adjust their website, make the changes to the documents. So it's really kind of like two things in one. So digital government is government. That's modern government. That's how government is done. Pretty much, every city and town in the United States has moved online in some capacity. So again, that's their websites, or if they have apps or their documents, all of that types of stuff. Do they have kiosks instead of interacting with the person at a counter? Do they have a kiosk? Is that accessible? All of those types of things. So, this impact is important, and people with disabilities really, we have an obligation to make sure that they can interact with their government here. So, really what I'm encouraging cities and towns to do is if you are not already up to speed on this, you really need to get up to speed with this soon. Like it sounds like, oh, we still have a year. This stuff takes time. Trust me. So, the first thing you need to do is do like an audit and like a kind of housekeeping of what are we going to do to make our website accessible? Like, is it accessible already, or do we got to do more? And if so, you need a project plan there. Oh, but wait, we're already updating our website. All of those types of things take time. Same thing with documents, same thing with the apps, same thing with the devices and the kiosks and everything else. All right. So, automated testing on your own is probably not enough. You need to make sure that, these scans are useful, but you need to do manual testing. You need to have people with particular expertise who have done this before to make sure you're going to be able to be compliant. All right. So access equals trust. I want you to remember that. And a government that requires people with disabilities to request separate help for ordinary online tasks, no, that two-tiered experience is discriminatory. We're not doing that. We're not saying, oh, well, you're a person with a disability, so you're going to do a separate thing. No, and the DOJ rule is clear on that. So that's a good thing now. All right. We're baking in the access here. You've heard us with the chocolate chip cookie analogy before, right? Oftentimes, people with disabilities have been handed a sugar cookie and a bunch of chocolate chips and smush them together. There you go. There's your access. No, now it's going to be baked in. Okay. So it's all got to be one and the same. All right. So as we conclude here, for government agencies, this year may feel like a long time. Trust me, it's not. Let's get to work on this right away. A little bit of a plug for us. You can call us. We're here to help you and to engage. We're registered on the state contract and with sam.gov and all that. But equal access should not depend whether on somebody knows who to call or some separate type of thing. No, we want to make sure that this isn't some checkbox thing and we're just doing this for compliance. No, we want to make these sites and documents accessible and usable for everybody so that they can interact with their government. This can lead to better government, by the way. This is a good government play. So, all right, as we conclude here, although the deadline was delayed, access has not been deferred, and that's a good thing. So we're getting to this. We're going to have higher levels of access for government on the state and local level than ever before. So this is a good thing. We thank the DOJ for implementing this. Matter of fact, I put in a request. We're trying to get somebody from the DOJ to be able to come on to talk about this in a little more detail. We're just scratching the surface here, but let us know if you like this content. Again, like, subscribe, share, comment, so we can keep great content flowing for you. It's David D'Arcangelo, another episode of Save Visibility, and I hope you have a great day.
For more information about disability employment issues, please visit our website, disabilityemploymentsolutions.com. The Save As Ability podcast is available on Apple Podcast, Spotify, our YouTube channel at Disability Policy Expert, or wherever you stream your podcasts. Subscribe, stream, rate, and review our shows. Your ratings and reviews help our show reach new audiences. Produced by Pod Pro Entertainment. Save As Ability lives within a network of podcasts located at podproentertainment.com. #TheNewRadio. Again, my name is David D'Arcangelo, and I'm your disability policy expert. Until next time, thank you. I hope you have a great day.